Broughan.
Thanks, Cahir. Well, Deputy Burton's comments remind me, of course, that the wonderful new stadium built by Tottenham Hotspur at White Hart Lane, it cost, I think, just over €1 billion, half the cost, perhaps, of our new hospital. But the introduction to the revised estimates, which I have in front of me here, of course, mention that the estimates, and I quote, have been supplemented with key performance information regarding programme outputs and impacts. And we, of course, were also promised information in relation to 2019 indicators would be provided in the 2019 HSE service plan, and a number of post-budget technical and policy adjustments are included in this REV. But when we examine, Minister, the €66.6 billion expenditure over the 42 votes here in front of me, while there is some useful information on the delivery of spending programmes, the performance metrics on each vote give little insight, Cathaoirleach, into the detailed achievement of the strategy being pursued by each Department of State. And this is particularly true, of course, of the €52.3 billion, or 78% of total government spending provided for the four key vote areas of education and skills, vote 26, of housing, vote 34, health, vote 36, and Employment Affairs and Social Protection, vote 37. Our excellent Parliamentary Budget Office, in their paper 10 of 2019 on these revised estimates, they note, for example, that the modelling of retirements from the education sector is an ongoing issue, requiring supplementary estimates each year since 2014, yet you haven't addressed that. Also, there are issues with the European Social Fund and the Education Capital Budget accounting systems, Minister. I represent a constituency, of course, Cathaoirleach DBM, Dublin Bay North, with about 7,000 households on housing and homeless lists, the worst total in the country of any constituency or any county. And the critical performance metric, of course, Minister, was 10,000 citizens in emergency and homeless accommodation. We passed that metric a few weeks ago, but the 2019 housing vote is also, of course, it's rising from €3.3 billion in 2018 to almost €4 billion in 2019. Yet the output metrics on page 160, they don't give any hint of how this estimate can remotely address the ongoing suffering of the tens of thousands of citizens in dire need of housing, which you yourself are very aware of. And there's an element of sort of, on inverted commas, housing solutions, which we hear in the PR of Fingal County Council and other counties, when it actually refers, of course, my colleague said, to the HAP, to the news you provided for another 17,000 HAP in these estimates. The PBO, of course, since inception, has rightly drawn attention to difficulties with measuring and assessing vote 38 for the Department of Health, and in particular the problems of reconciling expenditure of the HSE National Service Plan with the Department's voted expenditure and the use of annual supplementary budgets. And the vote, of course, is projected to be €16.6 billion, or just over €17 billion with the appropriations in aid. And much of the increase, Minister, seems to be going to the acute hospital sector. So I hope we're going to see the results of that on the ground. It's not clear, by the way, if the first charge is actually dealt with, in relation to 2017 budget, 2017, 2018, 2019 carryovers. Also, we don't have the National Service Plan yet, Minister, so how exactly can this vote work? The austerity governments, of course, you've held vote 37, the Employment Affairs and Social Protection, virtually static since the crash, and I know the vote here stands here now at €10.6 billion, 200 million less than 2018, and with the inclusion, of course, of the Social Insurance Fund, it's around 20 billion, isn't it, as it has been all through the austerity era. And again, the PBO has drawn attention to the Christmas budget, to the Christmas bonus, and why don't you just mainstream that as, say, as a basic income for Christmas for our lower income citizens, not leaving it to the whim of governments? Yesterday at the Budget Oversight Committee, Cathaoirleach, I asked the chairperson of the committee to respond vigorously to the report of the PwC consultants on the outrageous escalation of costs at the National Paediatric Hospital. I asked specifically, of course, I asked for you, Minister, and I know you are appearing in front of us, I think, shortly, and also, at long last, that we might see Secretary-General Mr Robert Watt talking to our committee, to the Budget Oversight Committee. But I asked that the committee would focus on why the so-called red flags on the runaway cost of this project, why they weren't noticed, as other deputies have said, and acted on by the Ministers for Finance, Public Expenditure and Reform, indeed since about 2013, and by their Secretary-Generals and their senior staff. It's incredible also that management committee meetings where you had this, you had this risk item, haven't you, on each meeting, that you wouldn't have been saying each month virtually the biggest infrastructure in the state until we build the metro or whatever. Would you not have been raising, raising your own red flags? And it's, again, of course, astonishing that Minister Harris said nothing to you over, was it 3 or 4 months, about this incredible elephant in the room. Many of us, of course, Minister, worked in construction in our earlier lives. We've nearly all been on building sites and so on and so forth. But probably our most experienced deputy in this regard is Deputy Mick Wallace. And I thought yesterday that he made a powerful and cogent case, Minister, for re-tendering the completion of this project at St James's Hospital, with bills of quantity, as he said, based on clear, transparent and detailed architectural and engineering designs. You could try to fix this, Minister. In most jurisdictions, what would have happened, of course, is certainly we've been watching the House of Commons, so we've had to watch it so much over the last 3 or 4 months. But in the House of Commons, unfortunately, you would be gone, and Minister Harris would be gone. I don't think there's any question about that. And the very least you could do now is try to fix it, try to curtail it. We haven't spent this money yet. I mean, the Taoiseach and Taoiseach and yourself like to point this out. The vast bulk of this money, we can do it better. And I thought, again, probably the most accomplished person in this area, in this House, and as I said, a lot of us have experience in the building area, that he did make a strong case. And we've had the revised estimates, or whatever they were called, and 75 million was lost by so many other bodies. And just finally, just on the capital budget, Minister, just the PBO's suggestion of a capital reserve, and also to move to programme logic model analysis, that those are 2 items your colleagues, our staff might look at for coming years. Thanks, Career.